I don't think Devon cares anymore today. He's just like, we're going live now.
It's been a long day.
You don't know me. You don't know me.
We're live. Everyone can see our faces. You might be able to hear us. I don't know.
How about I'll check for us once it
It looks like audio's coming through.
Audio. Everything we see suggests that yes, audio is coming through. But is it really?
Is it?
Is it really?
You know, Internet Explorer, you really suck.
It tries hard.
I don't even know if it tries hard, Mike, to be honest. All right, so we've got. Let me turn on some audio here.
It tries hard.
There's Mike. I don't even know if it tries hard, Mike. Yep, sounds like it's working. Episode 127. Devon's logo, that Freelancer Codex logo is offset for some reason. Down on the right.
Empty space, you know. I gotta put some.
Just make it bigger.
Guys are evil.
And you wish that's what
I'll make it big.
something.
That's weird. You took us to a weird spot.
You took us to a weird spot. I think everyone was fine until you said something.
No, everybody
No,
knew
I'm
what
pretty
had to
sure.
happen.
Everything
Everybody
was fine
knows
until
what
you
has
did.
to happen.
Oh, that's perfect. Look, we can see it real quick. You son of
I covered Steven's whole face with the logo. Don't worry, I moved it.
You're real funny, Devon. You know? Real funny.
That's what they tell me. Down at the prison. They tell me I'm real funny.
Why do you go down to the prison?
I don't know. I've never even been there.
Then why did you just say that they tell you that down in the prison?
Like, not even to visit people? Why are you so...
I don't know anybody.
Who is Devon visiting?
Who am
in the
I gonna
prison,
go
Mike?
visit in prison?
The people who
Yo,
don't get visitors. I mean...
I actually don't even know where our prison is.
Well, there's several. I know where people are.
We do. We have one here in our town.
Yeah. It's up by the courthouse.
How big is it?
That's like jail, though. That's not prison. And there's a difference.
I mean, they keep you there for a long time.
Well, yeah, but it's not like yeah, it's the difference between prison and jail. It's up on
You've been
it's
to
up
both,
on,
have you?
Andrea Amber. It's up by Mesa View Middle,
This is
on
what
that road.
everybody's tuning in for.
out on Crouch Mesa.
Yeah, this is the real chat that people want to find out about.
This is what they want to hear.
Where's the prison in their town?
What's the difference between a prison and a jail? What's the
You'd
deal?
you'd actually be surprised.
Would I
Maybe
be?
you would. I don't know if you would be surprised. Who cares? Let's talk about the things that matter most to
I
people.
don't think you're right. I don't think anybody cares.
I don't
The
think
things that
anybody
matter
cares.
most to people are when's my paycheck coming, and yeah, that's about it.
Well,
I
how
think.
big is my paycheck?
I thought you were gonna say something different.
It's not always about that, all right? We're not, this isn't HBO.
This isn't HBO.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing. I got
We're
nothing.
like EA Play. We
We are
nothing.
EA Play. We're
That's
gonna
not-
we're gonna feign some excitement. Hey, I love this game. Look out for the gold letters. Now we'll send it to you.
Whoa! Dial it back
Did you
a
just
little
like
bit.
eat an entire salt lick or what?
Dial it back just a tiny bit. I don't know what that was.
I did
but
have
it
some
kinda
sour.
scared me.
I did have some sour punch straws. They are good. I love them.
It wasn't the worst presentation.
Steve.
Dude, you don't know how it was, Mike. All right, you don't know how it was in early E3 days. You weren't there.
You weren't
We
there,
have
man.
lived through some very, very terrible presentations on stage.
Okay.
Were you there in 2013 when Don Matrix stood up and said, "Hey, you want to play old games? We have a box for that. It's called the Xbox 360."
I mean,
As long as
that
cool
wasn't
enough.
on stage. That was in an interview right off
How
stage.
about we find out?
But
Fair enough.
hell.
You should have been there when the ESPN guys were up on there talking about how cool it was that we'll be able to watch NFL games on our Xbox. Like that was going to be the big thing.
that was Don's big
Man.
thing. I made a 5-year deal with the NFL. Got some money coming in. And
Xbox One, it's the one place for everything. TV,
That
sports. Oh yeah, video games also will be on here too.
Yeah.
I think.
I think.
Can I get
You
a
got the-
confirmation on that?
you got the
What video games
Connect.
are we going to
All
be out
right.
here? Everyone's going to get a Connect because they're going to develop games for it. And if you want to develop Connect games, everyone's got to have a Connect. I'm just like I went all anonymous.
You went all blurry on us, man. That's your rant.
Phil Spencer takes over. He's like, no, kill the Connect. Kill it. Get rid of it.
Kill the feed.
Gone.
We're losing our game changer status here because Michael's words on EA Play. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Can I not have an opinion? Can I not have an opinion?
Let me tell you if you can or not.
Can you tell me what opinion I have?
Yeah.
Are you an idiot? So who wants to be an idiot? So here we are. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What is that from?
This is the voice actor from AT the janitor in Control, and he won the award for being voice actor. And he was like, I don't know if I should. He was telling his story of when he got the call if he was going to take it, and his kids were there. It was either his kids or his grandkids, and he was like, I got this part to play this character. Should I do it? And his kids told him,
Are you an idiot? So who wants to be an idiot? So here we are. Thank you. Bye.
Because they said you'd be an idiot not to take it, and he's like, well, I don't want to be an idiot. So. All right. Shall we get this thing going?
That is the worst story ever. I'm over it though.
You are listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network.
And then it's
Welcome
like we're into it. Like it just goes and then it stops. And then you're like,
and
into it.
We are into episode 127, the Freelancer Codex podcast, coming at you live from the Four Corners area. I am Steve, your host, with Mike, the teacher, Devon, the Xbox ambassador. We are here to talk about video games. We're going to talk about EA Play. We're going to talk about Baldur's Gate. We're going to talk about so many different things that have been announced this week that there's like way too many things to discuss. That's a new dog in the background, if you can hear that. He doesn't like me. He's like staring at me weirdly, but we're going to try to get through the show without too many dogs being mad at us. So first up, I'm going to take
got a lot of balls in the air, man. He's like juggling all kinds of stuff right now.
I usually playing with balls, so it's okay, and I'm okay with it. So first off,
oh man,
thank you everyone for being here. But I guess we have so much, we should probably just jump into it, right?
Let's jump in.
Jumping in.
Gotta thank our patrons.
That's what I'm going to jump into. I want to thank our patrons. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you, Julius, Nathan B, Michael R, Trent B, Man in Steel, Scout 69, Dragonheart 76, Jeffrey H, and the Gameplay Experience. Thank you so much for your contributions to this podcast. It helps a lot. Keeps us going more than you know. This was kind of a rough week for me, content creator wise, because sometimes you just you get in a rut of despair and depression of thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, what reason am I doing this for? But knowing that there are people supporting us, it kind of helps you. It helps me anyway, like pull myself up out of that and say, hey, we're doing this because we like to, not because, we're trying to be the next big thing. It's because we enjoy getting together, talking about video games, and knowing that people are back there supporting us, saying, yeah, this is what you should be doing. So yes, I really appreciate everyone that's doing that. We're going to get our our monthly challenge coin made this week, and we're going to send those out to our patrons that support us at that level. So this one, it's going to be a pretty fun one. We'll have a fun quote. So if you want to write into the show, you can do that at freelancercodex@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/freelancercodex, and you can just drop that in there. We'll get it and we'll be able to play on the show. So all right, without anything else, I think we'll just go down these line by line and we'll just kind of switch off. Ever since the PlayStation 5 reveal event last Thursday, it seems like there's been nonstop announcements almost every day. We've also had clarifications from the PlayStation 4 event. So we're just going to kind of go through these chronologically as they came out, because I think that's kind of the best way to do it. So first thing I want to talk about, and this is something Devon and I are pretty excited about. So we got and this was via Polygon by Charlie Hall, was the author over there. This is Baldur's Gate 3 could enter early access as soon as August, which is super exciting for us because Devon and I have been playing through Divinity Original Sin 2. We had to stop for a long time. I think we got probably a little bit more than halfway and had to stop, which was kind of a bummer. But knowing that Baldur's Gate 3 could hit early access in August, I think should kind of say, hey, maybe it's time to finish that thing before this comes out, right, Devon?
I don't know about
something that we might be able to do.
Power through.
He's got his pirate vibe going on.
Yeah, so we know that COVID-19 impacted the Larian team as it has many people around the world. The studio said Saturday in a news release, but the shift to work from home has gratefully been a successful one, allowing Larian to continue billing toward an early access period of maybe August. Larian will have more information about the specific content of early access in the future, but the team is committed to working directly with community feedback to evolve the game during its early access campaign. So I'm guessing, Devon, if they go early access in August, the game probably doesn't go gold until August the following year. Is my gut feeling. What do you think? Is that too long of an early access period?
No, I mean, I think games have been in early access for a longer period than that. It's like, they have all the Battle Royale games, those are all in beta. They do that to bypass the patching requirements for the consoles and those kind of things. So, I mean, there's different things that they can do. Early access, hopefully that means they will use that time to actually take our feedback, as players and make changes if they need to be done. So
yeah, and also today they showed 90 minutes worth of gameplay today during another, I think it was the Dungeons and Dragons events. There's so many events going on right now that it's really hard to keep track of everything that's happening.
I knew there was something else I missed today, and I was like, what am I missing today?
Yeah, and Sven was on stream again, and he was playing through a couple different things, just kind of showing things off, saying, hey, you could do this, you could do this. Like, Sven, I think, is a really good presenter. He's, like, really fun to, like, listen to, just because he's very good on screen, on camera, talking to people. So, I mean, I don't know if I want to go back and catch that, or just if I want to experience that whole thing myself. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But also, Devon, you want to hit this next...
Yeah, so they did a little update, came out with some new stuff for Divinity Original Sin 2. So they got new quests, new items. They come out with this kind of stuff. I forget what they call them, like their bags or whatever that you can.
They're grab bags.
Yeah, grab bags. They give them to you for free basically, and it's just new items and things to keep the game a little bit fresh for people that keep playing it. So it says here we just gotten some free gift bag DLC, the 4 relics of Rebellion, that adds new quests, a new boss, and some magical armor. So they announced it, I think yesterday during the Guerrilla Collective showcase. The 4 relics of Rebellion will see you go on the hunt for 4 magical sets of armor, facing down new enemies, including a brand new undead dragon boss. Adding new lore to the already packed world of Divinity. There is a lot of stuff packed into that game, and it can kind of be, I mean, we've played 70 something hours. It's a lot. We're kind of we're on this island, and I don't even remember why we're on this island that we're going to. But
no, it's a hard game to try and feel like you're getting the most out of it, because while I'm off, dying or looting something, you can be talking to important NPCs.
Yeah, and
I just completely miss the dialogue and just okay, I guess something important happened, and I have to trust Devon to fill me in, and I'm like, Devon, what did that person say? I don't know, we got to go find something.
Yeah, we got to go find something. Well, and it's difficult too, because and I think they fixed a lot of these things for Baldur's Gate. But when one of your characters, so Steven controls 3 of the characters because he already worked with them or whatever, so he just uses those 3, and I just go about my ways and go kill everything that I want.
Because you don't want to have to worry about min-maxing other characters. Just I'm just gonna worry about myself, and I'm gonna go loot stuff.
Do my crap, fine. You do the rest. Got it?
Yeah, I'll do the brunt of this.
No, well, it's difficult because if one of their characters talks to a person or whatever, it can affect, I can't go and talk to them to sell things or different things, and so it's oh, I can't talk to him. Here, let me transfer this stuff to you so you can sell it, or they have to transfer stuff to me to sell it. And so it can kind of be, it's not really, I don't think it was really designed with multiplayer in mind. Well, it works great in multiplayer to play, but going through the story and those kind of things, I think was really meant for solo players. And so we'll see how Baldur's Gate 3 differs, from that.
Yeah. I'm also super curious, like, why they're offering this. I mean, all their DLCs or these little updates, they're not really DLCs, they're updates to the game. They've all been free. So I don't know how they like continue to support Divinity, like where that revenue is coming through. If people are just continue to buy the game, or like what's, because there's nothing else that you can buy from Divinity if you already have the game.
I think it sells good, and it's not usually on sale very often. But when it is, it sells. Especially on console, it's not on.
Yeah. Mike, what else do we have coming up here? What other news?
So we've got some news on Spider-Man, the new Miles Morales game. Apparently there was some confusion that came out afterwards. Everybody wanted to know how this fit and everything, and what is it, where is it? Give me all the info, right? Because that's what we are. We want all the info right here, right now. So let me start with asking you guys a question. How many I'm just kidding. I don't care how many.
How many Spider-Mans are there?
So we did find out that Spider-Man Miles Morales is actually going to be a standalone game. In the next adventure in Marvel's Spider-Man universe is what the developers said in a Twitter post, kind of confirming confirming what kind of a lot of people thought. That it was going to be a standalone. It's going to be smaller than a traditional console game, but will be sold.
Yeah.
And so,
I think a lot of the confusion came from a Sony executive saying that it was going to be an expansion, and it made it sound like you're just going to be downloading the original Spider-Man, and this is just going to be expansion to that. So it came out and said it's going to be more like that Uncharted game, the Uncharted
Lost Legacy.
There you go. Devon's got it for me. Yeah, it's going to be more like that. So
it's cool.
And it's going to be optimized for PS5.
Right? So.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that it was kind of rushed. I think, in my opinion, that's like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And they're like, they're using the same city, kind of upgrading some of the stuff. They talked about that in the video. They got ray trace reflections, which is cool. I'm excited to see what that'll look like on there. But I think, with the size of it, they're like, okay, what can we put out? I mean, because Sony's pulling an EA where they just really don't have very much. I mean, that's what it seems like to me for the launch anyways. There's some staples, but there's not a ton of stuff there. And who knows,
not at launch, you're right.
Maybe Microsoft will be the same thing. But at least, for Microsoft, they planned it out where they have one major tentpole title with Halo coming at launch versus... well, I guess maybe Gran Turismo is the tentpole title for PlayStation.
I think for GT fans it is, but I don't know how many people. I don't know how mainstream that is, because you're right. Like Microsoft is going to have Halo, and that's going to be like a huge seller for them, especially if the way things are shaking out for this holiday season, from everything that we've seen, from the stuff that we saw from EA today, from the stuff that we saw from Sony. Like, I mean, Halo has to be like the biggest, most anticipated title this holiday.
Well, I mean, I think it was until CD Projekt Red announced the delay for Cyberpunk today. So
that's true. They announced that today, and that's going to be pushed to November, which is going to be right around that same time. So,
and I think that's going to suck for pretty much every other game that comes out then, like on any platform, because that's people have been waiting for that. It was supposed to come out last year, and it got pushed to the beginning of this year, and then it got pushed again, and then it got pushed again. So it might get pushed. I mean, they say everything's done, but anyways, I'm getting out of order. But
no, that's fine. But yeah, so like to your point, Devin, we were talking about Spider-Man. Like I'm glad that these developers can get more out of all the hard work that they put on these games, because Spider-Man's a big game. But instead of just like saying, all right, now it's time to move on to whatever Spider-Man 2 is, time to drop all this stuff, we have to update all this stuff, we got to change everything. They get to reuse most of the work that they've already done. So that means there's a lot less time working on it. So the company's going to be able to make more money from doing a project like this, I would imagine, than just being like, all right, time to move on to Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5. And, it's the Miles Morales story. So I'm excited that Miles gets more screen time.
I mean,
he's like super popular right now with the success of the movie. And this doesn't follow the story of the movie, but it's there's still that name recognition that, hey, this is a Miles story. People are super excited about him. He's got more powers. I asked my kids when I was talking to my oldest, I was like, so what Spider-Man do you prefer? Because he's been watching a lot of Spider-Man stuff on Disney Plus now, because all the Spider-Man cartoons are there. He's like,
Yeah.
do you prefer Peter or do you prefer Miles? He's like, I prefer Miles because because he can electrocute people. So I think
nice.
at least for my kids, they're more excited just because Miles has a more interesting power set. He can go invisible, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited for this. And Devin, you've actually been playing Spider-Man on PS4. I mean, does this get you excited to finish this one so you can get this one at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be good to see. I mean, they said this one's only like 15 hours for the story for Spider-Man. So I've been playing it. My son's been playing it. He enjoys going around, and I let him play when he wants to. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's funner than I actually anticipated, and it'll be interesting to see, with the speed of that SSD, how much of a difference that really makes for, swinging through the world and traversing through it. Because I mean, you move pretty fast right now as it is, on this gen of consoles. So the stuff might not look all that different because they're using the same assets and those kind of things. But,
right.
I guess, I mean, that'll be really the test once they show off more and they show off actual gameplay from it, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that there's a lot of talk after the PlayStation event about exclusives, limited time exclusives,
And a lot of time.
And just that wording and how confusing it can be, because I know, like, anytime, like all the previous E3s, anytime Microsoft would come on and they'd have their exclusive, and then we'd find out that it was just a limited time exclusive, or it wasn't a console exclusive, that it was going to later come to PC, and it was going to later like, this marketing speak, like, really, really sucks. Like, I hate that we always have to ask the question of, okay, but where else is it coming out, right?
Yep.
What, because when they say, hey, this is an exclusive, and you're like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure that those games are going to come out on everything at a later time. Like, I don't like it. So I looked up a list of things that are actually going to be PS5 exclusive. So Astro's Playroom is going to be PS5 exclusive. That one's pretty obvious. Demon Souls, Destruction All Stars, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, the game Returnal, Sackboy, Big Adventure. So those are actually going to be exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't know if some of those are also going to be time. Like, I don't know about Returnal. If Returnal is going to be like timed exclusive, it's going to come out to things later. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that seems like it's just, I mean, it's from a third party, so I mean, it definitely seems like it could be in the other category where the majority of all the games that they announced are all paid timed exclusives, which we've talked about this before, where Sony can do whatever they want and everything's good to go, but bring up Tomb Raider for Xbox and it's the end of the world anti-consumer, but celebrated as a great move by Sony to secure those exclusives.
But when we don't have Destiny content for a year on Xbox, then
over 2 years,
you should have bought a PlayStation.
Yeah,
I guess that's
over
true.
2 years, and they continue to do that, and it continues to get celebrated. But that's the thing that frustrates me. It's like if you can do it one way, just be fine with it on the other side. That's all there is to it, and just that's what's frustrating. So
I think one of the directions that Phil is taking Xbox is, instead of, I mean, because you could buy your timed exclusive, and pretty much that's almost like a first party title for you for that time, right? Because you have the exclusive, it's yours, and you can see where Sony's putting their dollars for these compared to Phil, who's like, well, why don't we just buy all these companies, make them first party, and they're making it for us, right? And then for them, it's like, yeah, put it on PC, put it on Xbox. We're going to be making the money off of it regardless, and they'll continue to do that. So I think it's just different tactics. I mean, Xbox is also very guilty of the same exclusive.
Sure. I mean, they do timed exclusives, and I'm sure they'll still do timed exclusives. I think they already have some of the stuff that they've shown off, and so one of the other things they might be able to do as well is, instead of buying timed exclusives, they could buy and say, hey, it's on Game Pass day one,
Yeah.
And
And I just wish, because I mean, it's obvious that this marketing strategy works, and that's why they continue to do it, because majority of people, they're going to see a trailer once and they're going to be like, oh, cool, that game is Godfall is only on PlayStation 4, and that's it, and that's what they believe, and that's what they're going to go do. They're not going to look into the different tweets. They're not going to research them more and see, oh, it's also coming to Epic Game Store, it's also coming here. They're just going to say, oh, I have to have a PlayStation to play this game. So obviously it works, or else they would have found a different marketing strategy. It's just frustrating on the back end. But
it is.
whatever.
It's frustrating, and it almost feels like a little bit of I just lost the word that I was going to say. Cheap tactics. That's not the word I wanted, but it just seems a little dishonest. Maybe. I mean, I know that it's not, but it's just kind of a backwards way. So. Like, people got to make their money, and you know what? And we know people who buy all the consoles, and we know people who only do the one console and just kind of say, "Oh no, I'm out. I can't play that game. It's not on the thing that I have." So, I guess people do what they want to do ultimately.
I did think it was really weird. Sorry, before we go on, that they didn't have Call of Duty there at the PlayStation conference, because they bought that since PlayStation. So, second year of this gen consoles. They've had the marketing deal for Call of Duty, which was like a huge deal because Microsoft had it for forever. But because they had the more powerful console and they were showing it off, it always looked better, it ran better, and I'm surprised that they're not showing it off there. And so if they show it off at Xbox, I'm like, okay, so Microsoft spent the money again to get the marketing for Call of Duty, which is a huge seller and would be a huge reason for a lot of people to switch from PlayStation to Xbox if they get that content early, because they're all about getting that stuff 30 days early. So I used to be all about that. I was.
You still are.
I mean, when you have the advantage to do that, it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to take advantage of it. I mean, we could, like, it sucks. I don't think it makes you like.
It's like a fast pass at Disneyland. You guys just got to do it.
Or else you're waiting in line and you're seeing all the people. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You're paying for a fast pass, and that's kind of a weird way to put it, because fast pass.
But it's really what it is. I mean,
you gotta have it when you go.
When you go, you gotta have it. I mean,
or else you can't have fun.
And then you don't take kids, and then you're good.
All right. So, price predictions for the Series X and the PlayStation 5. I know that there were some leaks, so let's talk about the leaks first, and we can say.
I mean, they're all guesses, right? Grain of salt. Yeah. But all right.
So, let me talk about the leak first, then we'll talk about the money. So, the Amazon France listing that was up for a little bit has the price for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 digital editions. The PS5 is listed at €499, and the digital, that's not euros. Yeah, it is. And the digital edition clocks in at $399. So this converts to approximately $565 USD and $450 USD for the all digital edition. So what do you think price-wise? Like, is this a price that's too much? It's too little? Is this something that it's a no-brainer that you buy all digital at $450? Starting with Devon.
For me, like, I would buy. I'm going to buy the all digital anyways, because I don't buy discs. So I haven't. We've talked about this many times, but I just don't see the point of it. I don't want to have to go to the store. I don't want to have to install the game from the disc when I can pre-install everything digitally. I just don't do anything stupid with my accounts. People are like, oh, you can lose all your stuff. It's like, well, just don't cheat and don't break the agreements. Just play the games and not cause problems. And you shouldn't have an issue. But I mean, that's to me is the best thing ever. If I have to buy something physically, I just get it from Amazon anyways, because I don't want to have to go to the store and deal with stupid people at the store who think they're whatever. But no, I think $500. There's a long story there, but
we'll save it for the patrons.
Patrons.
Like, I think $500 is probably where they're both looking, but I'm sure they're both willing to come lower. Based upon the way they're talking, I would say Microsoft is willing to undercut Sony, versus Sony is talking about showing the value of the console versus the price, and they've even said that they, prefer showing the value over being the lowest priced console. But I think, they have big name recognition. They have a huge install base right now. So they can afford to do that. But being the less powerful console and being more expensive is going to be a hard thing for them. I think it's going to hurt more than they anticipate, and especially if Microsoft gets some of the bigger marketing deals, with Call of Duty and those kind of things that are really popular. So I would say 500, but I'm guessing Microsoft would go as low as 400. And if they have an all, I don't know. I think Sony will probably try and drop $50 off at least, so they can do starting at whatever $450 in their commercials, whatever for PlayStation 5. To try and offset the price difference as much as possible, just like they're doing with the variable frequencies, trying to pretend that their system is. I mean, yes, it can reach that, but not for sustained long periods. So they're trying to lessen the gap and make it not seem as bad because they, just pulled a Don Matrick and didn't really go all out. So I don't know.
Mike, what are your thoughts price wise?
So I don't remember what I paid for my. So I've had two Xbox Ones. I'll talk about those. I had the first gen one that was a little bit bigger, and then I went to an Xbox One S, and I don't remember what I paid for them.
You paid $500 for the Xbox One.
If it
For
had
the first one or for both
well,
of
I
them?
think when he got his, it was on sale, and I think you got yours on sale, so it was cheaper. But yeah, they were $500 due because of the Kinect, which was like cost them $150 to make.
So the first one did come with a Kinect, but the Xbox One S did not. So there was probably a price difference there. I'm guessing, $399 for digital and $499 for the disc version. I don't have anything to back that up.
That's a lot for a disc drive that costs $20.
Well, but you know that consumers don't get to see that part of it, right? So I mean, it is what it is, and people will buy the one that they want, and you would almost kind of hope that people go digital just to kind of going a little bit more green than printing discs and making discs and that stuff. But
and Sony and Microsoft are going to make more money off of the digital one because they don't have to pay for discs, so they get more money.
Yeah. So I'm going with $399 and $499 for the PS5 digital and disc respectively. But I really have nothing to back that up other than that's what I think.
Yeah, my thoughts are that both Microsoft and Sony would be crazy to sell these at $500, considering the success of the PlayStation 4 when they launched at $400, compared to Microsoft's mistake of launching at $500. Like I don't know how Sony would go back and be like, we destroyed the competition selling this at $400. Let's go ahead and sell this one at $500. I don't even care what it has inside of it. Like, you have to sell it at a loss, especially right now, to like continue your foothold, especially because you have the cheaper powered system.
The lower powered system?
Sorry, I was I was muting myself there.
I heard a werewolf.
No, I think it's. I mean, both of them, they should be selling at $400 because, people who buy those. I mean, they've released statistics and information that go over like how much those people who buy them at launch. For the $400, and obviously after a year, it's going to get cheaper for them to make the console, those kind of things. But average consumers, you're gonna make up that money within a few years. For average consumers, for the more hardcore consumers who are gonna get them right at launch, you're gonna make that up, within that first month or two, because they buy a lot more games and you recoup that money that you lost from selling your system at a loss. But I mean, that's how it's been for the longest time: is you sell your system at a loss and you make that money up in games. And with more things like Game Pass, xCloud, all these things and services like Xbox Live Gold, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, all these things that they're using to subsidize and get other ways of getting income into their system. I don't see. I mean, they're both expensive, but I think they should both be at $399. Honestly, because they can afford to take that hit because they're going to make all that money back eventually on those consumers.
Yeah, so I think, like you said, like the Series X, but PlayStation. So PlayStation, their disc version PlayStation needs to be like $4.99, right? Or $3.99. So that means, are they going to sell their all digital at $300? Because if they do that, I mean that's a killer deal for PlayStation, selling it at 300, and then whatever the Lockhart version of the Xbox is, if they do that same price point and it's more powerful, but we also don't know the specs of the Lockhart. There's been some rumors that thing is going to be like $200, a little bit cheaper, but I mean that the price is going to be the biggest thing this holiday season. Who's selling it cheaper? Xbox is going to have a leg up just because if they bundle like 3 months worth of Game Pass into this thing,
you automatically have access to hundreds of games.
Yeah, hundreds of games that are backwards compatible. You can load them up now. You get that value without having to spend extra money. That's like insane value, especially around the holiday. If you're a parent and you say, hey, you can spend X amount of dollars, your kid gets this box, they get all of these games compared to if you buy a PlayStation, even if they're the same price, but then you have to buy a game on top of that, which is an extra $60, you know. I mean, that's something that a lot of people are going to have to consider. That's something that, you know, the marketing teams are going to have to adjust for. Like, you have to get that message out if you're Xbox, because right now you don't have the market share that Sony has. You don't have the goodwill that Sony has. Like, for people that have been paying attention, Microsoft is building that, but the masses don't know that. And, you know, they've had PlayStation for the last, 8 years. So you have to market that because that's going to be a huge advantage for them. So it'll be really interesting to see how it shakes out. Like, the dog agrees.
Yeah. No, I think,
Yay, dog.
I think it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people online have been like, look, first party titles that are coming out. Say if you wanted to buy Spider-Man, Gran Turismo, Ratchet and Clank. Say you just want to buy 3, right? So that's like, if we're considering Spider-Man to be $40 because of the size, and the other 2 are going to be $60. So that's, $160 on top of whatever system that you're buying, right? Versus, okay, you can get, and that's not even including any of the other titles, that you could buy, like Godfall, any of that stuff. So say you spend $160 plus your PlayStation to buy games when it comes out. Or you can buy the Xbox, and it comes with, 1 to 3 months of Game Pass, which gives you access to Halo, gives you access to Forza, gives you access to all of their other games that are going to be back compatible and that will automatically take advantage of the Series X and will perform better and do that, just as is. It's like, okay, I can buy the system, but and I get access to all these games, so I'm already saving money doing that. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be value, so it'll be very interesting. I mean, and the other thing is, like, sorry, and then we'll move on. Like, Sony has been like specifically saying, hey, we believe in generations, right? If you're going to buy this, you're getting the new stuff. They haven't been communicating their backwards compatibility a lot.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of players that have old PlayStation 4 discs that will probably work in the PlayStation 5. But they have to like communicate that better, because right now it's not clear to a lot of people that, there's going to be backwards compatibility on Sony, and they haven't been doing a good job communicating that to players. All right, I'm going to move on to this next one because I think this is interesting. So AT&T seeks sales for Warner Brothers gaming unit, which could be about $4 billion. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of billions.
That's a lot for their properties. I don't think it would be sold for that much. I mean, they might like that, but I mean, Minecraft, which has the most players in the world, sold for $2 billion.
Yeah, and everyone at Microsoft will tell you that was a steal.
Oh yeah,
because of the amount of money that they've made off of Minecraft. So these are the properties from Warner Brothers. So they have the Batman Arkham series, they have the Fear series, they have Injustice, Lego Middle Earth series, Mortal Kombat series, and Scribblenauts series. So there's a lot of good, those are just pretty good series. Like, the Lego series is killing it. They've been putting out games for years, and they continue to put out video games. Yep. Batman's Arkham series is a really beloved series by a lot of people. A lot of people love them. A lot of people want to see more there. I don't know about the Fear series. Injustice and Mortal Kombat from from Nether Realms. Those are big sellers every time that they come out with one.
I mean, who knows who's gonna buy these? But I mean, if you're Microsoft, you have to be looking at this, even at the $4 billion, because you can get yourself access to all these series, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously, you would have to have some kind of licensing agreement. AT&T would probably still get some royalties or different things, but they don't have a superhero game that can combat, Spider-Man or can go up against that.
No,
Sony continues to buy, Street Fighter exclusivity, and so it's like, okay, well, you could get. I mean, they could even still do the things like they could have the Lego TT, whatever they are, do what Minecraft does and still make it for every console. I mean, they could still do that kind of thing with the Lego series or even any of these series. But, I mean, for me, like Batman would be a huge get for Xbox if they purchased this thing. I mean, they don't have anything to rival that. Even with all the new studios that they don't have anything in the superhero genre, like Spider-Man. And the one sure way to do that would be you buy the stuff from Warner Brothers and you get to be able to make exclusive stuff for Xbox.
Yeah, you buy Batman, one of the most popular characters out there.
Yep.
And then you make Batman games, and hopefully you make good games. I mean, you can't just get it and then you have a Superman.
I mean, you just still have the same studio, right? Because it's just not just the licenses; it's the studios that come with it. So like Rocksteady is the studio that's been making the Batman series,
and they also have the Harry Potter license, which I think Avalanche is making a Harry Potter game right now. So I mean, you have that also, which is, I mean, you would think that a name like Harry Potter would be worth probably $4 billion just for the licensing agreement alone. But I mean, it's not like
maybe not $4 billion.
I mean, that's a pretty big.
I think depending on the game, it could sell quite a bit. But
depending on the game, yeah. But
overall, I think all of those things, it's definitely worth a couple billion for over time, as long as they can get exclusivity, and make it worth it.
For Microsoft, who is behind, yes, this is definitely like, let's get these series and shore up our first party titles so that there's no way that we're going to be like, caught flat-footed. And I mean, if you have this many first party titles, then you could probably come out with one every quarter or every 2 months, a big AAA game. And then people that say, "Oh, you don't have games, no games, no games." Well,
how much the internet would just,
die.
They're just like, "What? That's so anti-consumer," or whatever.
Yeah.
Shut up.
All right, so the next thing we had lined up was Star Wars Squadrons, but we're going to bump this down. I'm going to talk about some Control stuff because I love Control, and I think it's an amazing game, and I want more of it. So this comes via the community manager, and on the subreddit, they've said, "We've heard your frustrations about the Foundation delay launch on Xbox. So this is the DLC that we got on PC and PlayStation a while ago. It's still not out on Xbox. It doesn't come out on Xbox until the 25th, talking about exclusivity deals.
Sony.
Yeah, but they say, "We thank you for waiting. As we have said before, the AWE expansion for Control will be released on all platforms at the same time." So I'm sure they are pretty excited about this because I'd have to imagine developers don't like exclusivity deals as much as we do because, like, hey,
they want their game everywhere, right? It's the same as crossplay.
Well, you'd think anyway.
They want that everywhere because if you have one large player pool instead of 3 split up player pools, it's going to have smaller numbers. You want the larger one unified player pool.
Yep.
Yeah. So when AWE launches, we'll also be releasing a free update for all owners of Control. The free update will include adding checkpoints to some of the tougher fights towards the end of the Control's main campaign. A lot of people complain about that. I didn't, because I could just, I'm just good like
whatever.
Was it that bad? I don't remember it being that bad.
I didn't think it was, but a lot of people said that they had problems with it. I think it was well, I won't spoil it, but and control points will be moved closer to certain boss fights so that when you will get back to the boss faster if you die and respawn. We're working on rebalancing some of the combat encounters as well. Other things are also in the works, including some stuff specific to the PC version, but we'll talk about those closer to launch. I wonder what they're talking about. But they're very glad to be giving you these updates, and we're looking forward to seeing your impressions on them. The development team working on AWE is small but hardworking. Thank you for your support as always. And they also announced that Control will be coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So no details on that, but I don't know if that's going to be happening at launch or if that's going to be happening after.
Well, they said they're going to take advantage of the new systems too, right? So.
Well, they should. I mean, Control looks great with ray tracing on, so I'm excited for other people on consoles to be able to take advantage of that. It's a great game. I think more people should play it. So there was also a tease of a job posting on Remedy's website. So people are speculating that there's going to be a Control 2 being worked on. I mean, to me, that seems like a no-brainer given the success of the game. It was a lot of people's game of the year in 2018. Yep, in 2018. So, I mean, I'm super excited for it. I hope that we get a sequel. I hope they take their time on it because it was a lot of fun. I mean, we still have DLCs that we haven't gotten yet, so maybe we should just pump the brakes a little bit, play the DLCs.
I mean,
and
they
let more
can.
people on
I don't
Xbox
think a
enjoy it.
Control 2 is coming for multiple years, right? I mean, they're working on that exclusive game for Microsoft, which is X-Fire. They're doing the campaign for that, which I'm sure will be show off next month. They're
That's
working
gotta be done by a
on.
different team, though, right?
Well, it's still within Remedy, so I mean, they probably
true.
have. If they're doing Control, they'd have to have 3 teams, right? So because they have that Crossfire single player stuff they're doing, the whatever exclusive game they're working on with Epic, right? That's coming out on their game store or whatever, and then if they're doing another Control, so that would have to be 3 teams at that studio.
Yeah.
I mean, Control is a huge hit, right? But they've had a lot of problems in the past with time getting stuff done. So
that is true. I really love that game. I think it's an amazing game. So, Mike, do you want to take us through this next story? This is something that passed by my Twitter feed, and I thought this was super interesting.
Okay, so
this is the FDA. Yep.
The FDA. No, it's yeah. So we've had the first prescription. I need a prescription. Wait, I got a fever. So the first video game has been prescribed for kids who suffer from ADHD. The video game, and I watched the video on it. It's super cool. So here's the news story. It says it might not look like much of a video game, but Achille Interactive's Endeavor RX, formerly Project Evo, may go down in history as the first video game that can legally be marketed. Hang on, I got to scroll over. Marketed and prescribed as medicine in the US. That's a landmark decision from the FDA, which is authorizing doctors to prescribe the iPhone and iPad game for kids between ages 8 and 12 years old with ADHD, after it underwent 7 years of clinical trials that studied over 600 children to figure out whether a game could actually make a difference. According to the company's favorite of the 5 studies, the answer is yes. 1/3 of kids treated no longer had a measurable attention deficit on at least one measure of objective attention after playing the obstacle dodging target collecting game for 25 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. So very interesting, very breakthrough stuff. And I watched the video, and the game is very much along the lines of, like, I guess it would be like Temple Run. You know, you see them all in waiting rooms, and you see kids on these things. It's either Sonic collecting rings, or you're just a runner, you know, collecting stuff. I think it speaks a lot to maybe what we're learning about kids and kind of what they need. I think the idea that kids need to sit down and listen to learn is something that's dying, and I think more people are understanding that, because most adults can't sit down and learn stuff. So we've got to be active. We've got to keep our brain going. And games like this, they activate different areas of the brain, and it just helps. It helps to give kind of those quick brain boosts, brain breaks that are so necessary. And if you doubt this, those of you out there who doubt this, or know someone who doubts this, do an experiment on yourself and just kind of watch yourself and see how often you swivel in a chair or click a pen or do something that isn't just sitting down and listening on a task. Because I know that there are a bunch of people not in my employ, but in my work environment that really don't believe that video games are helpful at all, or even those kind of non-traditional, sit down, sit and get kind of lecture type things. A lot of teachers are still in that generation, and it's not the best for kids nowadays for whatever reason, right? There's all kinds of things saying kids
Because
are
those
this, kids
teachers
are
are
that,
80 years old.
sugar this, sugar that, right? So there's arguments on both sides, which I get and I understand being in that world. So it helps those kids who need it. It helps those kids who need it. And I think that's the takeaway from this, is that if this helps a kid to be able to maybe sit for a longer period of time to really hunker down and learn long division or, val teams and stuff like that, just so they can have that face-to-face time, then why not give it a try? It shouldn't be looked at as, oh, well, I'm giving my kids video games and I'm such a bad person or I'm such a bad teacher because of this. Like, use all the tools you have in your toolbox, and that's what this should, and that's what I would say. My own little personal thing is that it should be viewed as a tool and not a fix, right? It's something that can help in certain situations. I wouldn't prescribe this to a school. I would prescribe it to maybe a couple students in the school, to see if it would work. And so that would be my little 2 cents that nobody asked for. So.
And just one thing of note, the people that are doing this study work for the game developer, so there could be a possible conflict of interest there. So take that with a grain of salt. But I thought it was interesting that we have gotten to this level. And like Mike said, I think there's a lot of potential to help people that we just kind of say, hey, here's some drugs. But now we can say, here's some games. Maybe this will work. All right. Devon, do you remember playing Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64?
Never played it.
Mike, did you ever play Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64? And before you tell people, I never let you play it because of I was a terrible brother or whatever.
So actually, this is the only game that Steve. This is the only game that Steve let me play. I have 164,721 hours invested in this game. I still have a Nintendo 64 that I'm running this game on, and I play it every night.
So today, it was either today or yesterday, they announced a new Pokemon Snap game. Now, if you don't remember Pokemon Snap from the Nintendo 64, it was an on-rails game where you got inside of a cart or a raft and you followed a set prescribed path where you would try to take pictures of Pokemon in their natural habitat. You did that by giving them food or luring them out or doing specific things throughout the course. In order to get the super rare one to appear, you would take a picture of them and you get points based on that picture. Cool. This was a game that I played, that I rented, but not one that I was very interested in. This game a new one is coming out, and a lot of people are losing their minds over it. This is one of those things where I'm glad people that are excited for this are going to get something that they want. This is not something that I care for or will be interested in, because it's an on-rails game where you're taking pictures of Pokemon. The cool thing was, like back in the day, it was finally being able to see them in 3D. That was like the huge thing for Pokemon Snap, because before that it was all on the Game Boy and they were all flat pixelated and they just kind of shook a little bit and they made weird sounds. So that was the cool thing about this. Like, hey, I get to see the Pokemons. But now we've already seen that with all the handheld. So like, I'm excited that people are excited for this game, but this is something that I have zero interest in. So I don't know if Devon, Mike, if you guys are interested in playing this in the future, or if you feel the same. Nope. Okay.
Zero
cool.
interest.
So,
I'm not much of a Pokemon guy. Neither are my kids.
Yeah, and that's fine. They don't have to be. But all right, with that out of the way,
just saying, neither are my kids.
So EA Play just happened today. So there's probably a lot of stuff that we're going to miss because it happened around 5 o'clock our time. And that's when, hey, dinner, get home from work. So we're going to talk about a couple of things from the show. So if we miss stuff, we'll probably just pick it up on the back end. We'll probably get some things wrong. So be patient with us. But we're going to talk about some of the more important things. Devon, is there something like that you really, really want to start with or talk about first?
From EA Play?
Yes.
No, I think for me, I was hoping they would show off some Battlefield stuff, and I mean they did, like, a couple seconds of basically, like, they're just testing stuff out. I mean, the game's supposed to come out next year, and I was hoping they would show it off, but maybe they'll do some stuff beginning of next year, or maybe they'll do something at the Xbox conference. I don't know. Yeah, I mean it wasn't the greatest of shows for me. It was just kind of like, okay, the Star Wars, the $40 Star Wars game was the big game of the show. Granted, I mean it's the one thing I came away from was they really just don't have a lot for this year, and they have the same stuff. Like they're putting out all their sports titles. They got Apex, which is big for them. They have Sims, again, big for them. But they had a couple. They showed off 3 indie titles, but I was just like, man, I just thought like EA had more than this going on, and maybe they do, and they're just not showing it, or they're not ready to show it yet. Because I mean, when you think about obviously these publishers like Deep Silver or THQ Nordic, when they say, "Oh, we have 76 games coming out in the next 2 years," it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of games. Granted, a lot of those might be AA or mobile games, but I mean that's a lot of games. I mean, last year they showed off Command and Conquer for mobile. They didn't mention anything about that this year. No. I don't know. I mean, it was the stuff they're gonna do. Next gen looks cool. They showed off some nice volumetric fog, some great destruction, but
some screenshots.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree. I think maybe it just shows like the strength of the titles that EA does have, like their sports titles, like make up the bulk of their revenue, right? That in Apex recently, I mean, FIFA is it's their big money maker. And I don't know if we want to say like, hey, they get to kind of rest on the laurels a little bit because they have something like FIFA in their back pocket to kind of fund them to keep them going. But you're right. Like with as big as EA was and is, it's like, I guess maybe we shouldn't expect like the Sony level presentation from them of just game after game after game. But it was very much like, hey, this Star Wars game is our thing to come. Now, like when we got the Christian Daily announcement of the whole Anthem thing, like I said, hey, we're not going to see Anthem here. It's just not going to happen, right? And we didn't. So, I mean, that wasn't a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't really expecting anything Dragon Age or, I mean, we were all kind of expecting a Mass Effect remake just because of the rumors that were going around. But to not have anything except for a couple screenshots from BioWare, and then to have, like you said, Devon, like Star Wars Squadrons was their big reveal. It's a $40 game. The way that they revealed Squadrons was it felt weird to me. It didn't feel like hey guys, come check this out. It very much felt like, guys, come look at this. This is why you should be excited. Let me tell you everything about it. It felt like a sales pitch to me. And I know trailers are kind of a sales pitch, but trailers are also supposed to get you kind of hyped, right? Like I didn't feel hyped for a Star Wars game. Like, and this is supposed to be the thing that I'm all about. Rogue Squadron, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, like those are the games that should be like, hey, this is like injected into my veins. I am down with it. But it just didn't feel exciting. It didn't feel like, oh, this is a story that I care about. And maybe it's because every time there's a new Star Wars game, it's like, okay, where is it set? It's in between these movies. It's in between these movies. Oh, it's over here on these movies. Like maybe you just get caught in the minutia of like, okay, now I need to frame my mind of, okay, so Death Star 2 is destroyed. Who's in power? Do I care who's in power? The Empire is still here, even though we blew up their stupid ball of death again. Like why do I care about these people? And when you say $40 game, single player, like what is that going to be? Is that going to be it's not going to be on the level of like Battlefront 2 and their campaign, because that campaign was maybe like a 10-hour campaign. It wasn't very long at all for a $60 game. To me, it almost feels like it's going to be a Titanfall situation where your single player campaign story is like played out on the same maps you're going to be doing multiplayer stuff on. And I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I want to be like, okay, now I have to adjust the control. Like, where do I put the power? Do I put it to my shields? Do I put it to my weapons? Do I put it to my engines right now?
What did
like,
what did you think about the duality of the storytelling? You're gonna play one mission as the Empire. You're gonna play one mission as the Rebels. Like,
I'm really tired of like hey, this is interesting. What's it like from their perspective? Like maybe the Mandalorian has just kind of ruined me to be like, just give me a story I can follow. Like Battlefront 2 did this whole you play as the Empire, but guess what? Now you don't. Like I don't care. Like the Empire is bad. They murder lots of people. Like they're not good people. Like I know you want me to play as them. Like I'll play as them because their ships are cool. Like the TIE Interceptor is probably the coolest ship out there, but like I don't know if I'm supposed to feel like sympathetic towards the Empire or
Right.
what. It's just, and maybe it's just my own Star Wars like hang up, but
So do you think that in the future, if we were to get a Star Wars game that just happens to use X-wings and TIE fighters and without kind of really defined where does this show up in the scheme of these 9 movies that we get, which I think is why you like Mandalorian so much, because it has nothing to, so far has nothing to do with what we've seen, canon, right? it is
right.
it is its own. And I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's an astute point, that you don't have to, not every Star Wars title has to have a Skywalker in it, or has to have a Death Star in it. Just give me something where I get to fly in these cool ships and do some dogfights and use blasters. Give me a lightsaber, but don't give me a lightsaber because Star Wars has lightsabers. Like if it
Yeah.
fits with my character, don't just, okay, by the way, you're a Jedi, obviously, because you're the protagonist, or you become a Jedi. Like just give me a story. If I'm going to be a pilot, then let me become a good pilot.
So and this is something that I don't know if you guys caught, but so this is via Game Informer. So they ask what's the viewpoint. So it says unlike most space or aerial combat games, Star Wars Squadrons is only playable from the first person perspective.
Hmm. And did you catch that it is fully VR capable, day one, beginning to
Yeah.
end?
Yeah.
And I
But I
think,
don't know how much VR though. Like the way they made it sound, it was like just using the VR headset as a display, not like
well, and
Right.
I think, but I think that's telling a little bit, that was kind of like, this is why we made this game
Yeah,
for.
because it has to be that way, right? If
Mhm.
you're playing it in VR, it has to be in first person all the time, or else it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So, like, whenever I play flight simulator games, like, I never go first person because I can't do it. Like, I
Yeah.
have to be able to see my ship, to see what's around me, to like feel like I'm actually flying. So
I have to
with this
see my
being,
wings. I have to see my
yeah,
wings. I can't use instruments to find my horizon. I have to see my wings in simulators.
yeah. So with this being like first person perspective only, that's a weird choice to me.
well. And I also thought for a game that's really heavily multiplayer based, there's no beta, right? There's no testing to see how
Yeah.
well it works. Granted, it's
Balance.
only 5-on-5, but
Balance is a big
mean,
deal, though.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm also
Unless
frustrated that they
everything is
haven't
just
had a
so
beta
cookie
for Halo
cutter.
yet either. So.
Wow.
That's true. They haven't.
You've got beta frustrations.
Well,
You're one of
but
those.
they also have professional FPS players playing that game and giving
yeah.
feedback. We don't know if that's happening here.
I mean, maybe
because we
they'll
don't know.
announce the beta next month. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of reason to get hyped right now, except that I want to experience it through VR just to see. But
Mhm.
putting the U-wing in here, like the U-wing is not the right selection for this game. Like
Support.
I
Steven.
don't know why it's not a B-wing, right? I don't know why
Yeah.
they're using the TIE Reaper as their support ship. Like there's so many other ships that are cooler ships in the Star Wars. Anyway, that's just personal stuff. Anyway, that's like, hey, this game's trash because there's no B-wing. It's just weird that it's a 5-player game. You only have 4. These are the only 8 ships that you have.
Mhm.
Now, to me, this
For
says
now.
no. I don't
They
think
said
that
there's
there's
no
going to be anywhere. There's no
microtransactions.
microtransactions. So like if you update it, then like I just don't understand. Like this game feels like a small team was said, hey, make this. Let's see what you can do. It'll come out. What it is what it is, and we'll go from there. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like, hey, this is a $60, like Devon said, like saying a game is like a $40 game, regardless of the quality, that says something about the game that you're putting out, right?
The investment in it.
There are a lot of quality games that are $30, that are $20, that are $40. I'm not saying just because it's a $40 game, it's garbage. I'm not saying that at all. But the expectation is a triple A game is $60.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and there's
That's
also a
the
difference
expectation.
of the game came out 2 years ago. It's $60, but now it's only $30 versus it's coming straight out the gate at $40. So there's less value that they're putting into it already to
Right.
keep our expectations lower. And so, I don't know. I mean, it only has 2 modes, right? 2 multiplayer modes, and then the campaign. And so, like, or 2 or 3 modes, right? And so, how,
And
much are you
and
going
then
to get
you
out
look
of that?
And then you look at Battlefront 2, which had its own mode for starfighters, and it had a couple modes in that they never supported. They didn't support it in Battlefront 2, and it was like I loved flying those things in Battlefront 2. I thought it was fantastic gameplay. It controlled really well. It was a lot of fun to do, but they never supported it. They never added like new ships. They never added like different color schemes. It was just there, and it was never touched. It was never a focus. So now you make a whole game focused on this, and like to me, it's like, okay, like so what now?
Hmm.
Like I don't know if
That's
like
interesting.
this is it just like, hey, because it's Star Wars, come buy it. Star Wars fans come buy it. If so, then like yeah, I guess milk the franchise as much as you
I
can.
mean, that's
right?
the majority of what EA has put out, though, for Star Wars, besides Fallen Order. And even then, that's still had issues.
Anyway, so those are my thoughts on like I guess I just need to see more. And like come on, like we had movies with the T-70 and you're putting the T-65 in here. Like after seeing the T-70, who wants to
Like,
fly a
what?
freaking T-65 X-wing, all right?
I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
all the movies, but I don't even know what you're talking
Well, yes, but
Well,
you're
I
not
know
on
you don't.
Steve's level, Devin. You're not on Steve's level.
Whoa,
so.
whoa.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, and they say, hey, you can customize the inside of your cockpit. You can get a little Ewok bobblehead. And at that point, I'm like, whatever. Okay, whatever. Like, anyway, shall we move on instead of talking about this? What else? Is there anything else from the EA Play conference that we want to talk about?
Give a shout out to what's the random game? What's the
Weird
title of it?
Dice.
The Dice
Random?
World of Random.
Something random.
Journey into randomness. But anyway, Steve, we were talking pre-show about it, and it looks cool. It looks fun. I mean, give it a shot. But that's about it.
I think these smaller games from these little studios that have very cool art styles are going to be like a huge. They're going to be huge this generation because there's a lot of them coming out. There's a lot of people making games. And there's a lot of people that like have that passion to make these cool little interesting games, and I'm excited to play them. Like it was a very Tim Burton clay animation art style, so I'm down for it, and I'm excited to try it out. So,
Cool.
Other than that, like
I think the big news for the day was the Cyberpunk getting pushed back again, getting delayed.
yeah, so it got pushed back to
November 19th.
November 19th. So it was going to come out in September. Now it is November 19th.
Yeah, they put out a bunch of information I have here, because they put out a video. Right, so next week they were doing their show. They were supposed to do one earlier this month, but they pushed it back to give time for other people to speak. But so anyways, they put out another video because the press is there. They said the press is going to be able to play it next week. But so some of the information they put out in the video is so the press is playing the game and they'll have previews. They'll be released after they do the Night City Wire on the 25th. So next week, after they do their presentation, the press will be able to go live with their previews. They said specifically in their video that you'll be able to read the preview, so there's some speculation whether they'll be able to do video or not. The way they're doing it, because of COVID, is they are streaming the game to them through PC. So they can stream and play the game. They can start. They're basically what they're doing is giving them a specific amount of time to play the game, but they can do anything they want in the game. They can
Oh,
go
cool.
anywhere. I mean, they said that in their release statement today, content is done. Everything is in the game, but the reason they delayed it is because everything is really complex. And they want to be able to do more balancing, more bug fixing, and so the press has access to build from the character creation, starts from the beginning of the game, but there's a time limit, no limits on what they can do. Right. Let's see here. So they aren't worried about releasing close to the next gen, confirming the backwards compatibility is possible on PS5 and Xbox Series X. The game will run on the current gen systems, the Xbox, PlayStation, and also the PlayStation and Series X. They will run better on the next gen consoles, but the big update is planned for next year for fully taking advantage of those consoles. Right, so adding the ray tracing and those kind of things is planned for next year, versus it'll just be able to run better than what your current gen consoles.
I think you reading that, Devon, just goes to show that we need to call the Xbox just the Xbox, right? Instead of calling it the Series X.
Why?
That's because it's just weird trying to throw that into a sentence. Like playing on PlayStation 5 because it took you like a second to think about what's the name
That's
of that
because I was
console?
purposely trying to put PlayStation after the Xbox when I was reading, because the person who wrote the stuff down purposely put the PlayStation ahead of the Xbox, even though in their press they have Xbox first because Xbox is the marketing. So I was just trying to purposely read it back the correct way.
Xbox ambassador, Devon.
I'm just saying.
That makes more sense now.
The internet likes to screw over the Xbox, so I have to go out of my way to make sure they get their fair shake, right? So,
Man.
so
That's
it wasn't because of that. It was because I was trying to flip it. Anyways, so they expect the next gen consoles to release around the same time, but they're not sure when exactly. They're not too worried about the launch games because they're saying it's not like any of the launch games, so that there's different. It'll be different enough from what is coming out with the next gen consoles. They have seen an increase in pre-orders for Cyberpunk. They have no plans currently for live events in the game right now. They do say, because they're kind of cagey on the amount of DLC for the game, but they do say specifically that they want this game to be around for several years. So I would imagine there has to be some kind of DLC for the game to be around for several years. Again, because the single player portion of the game is delayed, that's also delayed the multiplayer portion proportionately to the delay for the single player. So I don't think we'll see anything multiplayer till next year. I'm guessing they might even just hold that off until they give the full next gen ports, or
Makes sense.
upgrades. They did say that's free on both consoles. Even if you buy the disc, you'll get the next gen version for free. So how they'll do that on PlayStation is up to PlayStation, I guess. I don't know. They don't have smart delivery or a system like that in there currently. So, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I'm interested in this game. I'm skeptical because of how much nudity is going to be in this game. But I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely interested. It's going to be a huge game. They make really good games, really popular games. They put a lot into it. All the stuff that they've shown has been really cool. I just, don't want to see rampant nudity everywhere, but
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. While you were talking, though, I was really paying attention, I promise. But you know what? Before COVID shut everything down, and we were talking about the ESA kind of doing away with E3 just because of a lot of the issues that they had and finding like the success of E3. Like seeing how things have been broken up now, like I don't know if other companies can like do like a E3 style presentation without everyone else, right? Like Sony, obviously, Nintendo and Microsoft, they kind of have enough games to where they could do that and they have enough pool to get everyone together. But like with the whole Guerrilla Collective thing that went on without hardly any, like I didn't even know about it, and they showed off a ton of stuff for the Guerrilla Collective, like EA Play. Like I don't know if these smaller things, like if they had smaller shows specifically for these, I don't think that they would survive or would have enough pool to bring people in to attend like these standalone conferences. Because seeing what we saw, like I don't think that there's enough to pull in. It's like I think there has to be like an E3. I know we had talked about like it being good that it being gone to where we could have all these smaller things, but I think this has just shown that it doesn't work this way.
There's just so
Like, I
much
know-
content. I mean, smaller devs can get more eyes on their games, which is great for them, but at the same time, people's expectations is still at E3 hype levels, right? So IGN is putting on multiple days of stuff. Then you got Guerrilla Collective putting on multiple days of stuff. They're all expecting like big E3 type of shows still, and you can see that
They're
in their
just not
comments, and they are definitely not that. They're showing off a lot of cool stuff, but it's also putting a lot of negative attention onto some of these smaller devs and different things, and that they are kind of being, I wouldn't say they're being harassed or whatever else, but they're being subjected to this level because they're like, oh, this is like E3, but it's not. Why are you showing me this, ghetto indie game? I don't want to see this crap, or whatever. They still want that week of E3, type of big mega bombshells. Here you go, just dropping all this stuff, showing everything. I mean, it's great. It takes off a lot of the pressure from a lot of developers, but it's also just like really crazy because it's super unorganized and there's 15 different places trying to do things all at the same time. And I don't know.
I'm even surprised that I'm surprised that they still had Greg from Kind of Funny hosting the show.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't
Like-
needed at all.
Like, and I don't know why that was like a specific choice for E3 to do that. It just seemed like maybe they're
I
trying
mean,
to
EA.
keep, yeah, maybe they're trying to keep that feeling alive. Like, hey, this is a real show and we have a host, but it just didn't seem necessary at all to have him there. And it makes me think like what Blizzard is doing, like with having their BlizzCon every year and the attendance that they get for the amount of titles that they have, like hats off to Blizzard for having a fan base that is stuck by them, because I don't think any other studio would be able to do that.
Well, I mean, and they
Um,
canceled their BlizzCon and they're having digital events early next
but I
year.
mean, like it's like Blizzard just does like, hey, this is our stuff and we're having this big giant party every year. I don't think any other publisher could do that. I don't know if EA could be like, hey, we're having this giant party to celebrate our games, everyone come hang out with us. I don't know
mean,
if they have like,
they do that and it's super popular. I mean, it's crowded.
yeah, but
They
I
need to understand better venue and everything else. But
yeah, but I don't think BlizzCon is on. I think BlizzCon is like a whole different.
oh yeah, it's a
thing
whole
than
different.
these
I mean,
conferences.
because that's
like,
what they eat, sleep, they live. That's their life. They love these series. They've been playing them for 10, 15 years. And
yeah, I just think it's interesting how this whole thing is shaking out. Because at first I was like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. We'll be able to see everything, and we're not going to have to walk around in the heat. But now I'm like, yeah, I don't think I like this. I think I would rather just have the 1 week of here it all is, sort through it on your own time instead of being beholden to these schedules throughout, 2 different months of, oh, you got to be here, you got to watch it on this time, you got to watch it at this time, and it's just a little frustrating. That's all. Just a little bit of me venting. That's all. But I think other than that, guys, I think that's. I mean, we could talk about what we've been playing, but we've been talking for a really long time about all these different news things, and we can just kind of save that for later, unless you guys really want to jump into what you guys have been playing.
well, I think it's fine. There was a lot of news to talk about, so I think that's perfect.
Cool. Well, everyone that's hanging out in the chat, thank you very much for hanging out with us and listening to our opinions. Listen, like, it's okay if I don't like something, right?
Yep.
I'm not gonna tell you that you shouldn't like it. Like, if you are down for Star Wars Squadrons, like, I am super excited for you. If you're down for a new Pokemon Snap, like, yes, like, you should enjoy that.
I'm actually excited for Madden this year. It's the first Madden I'll play in a long time.
Oh yeah,
That really surprises me. What makes you excited for it?
I think I just want to see what's. I mean, I haven't played it since 2008, right?
No one's playing football right now.
That's the last one that I purchased, and so it's like, I have EA access, so no reason not to get it, and check it out and play it. And I mean, they're supposedly having a football. Who knows? But I don't know. I'm just interested to see what they're doing on next gen consoles and what's all changed. And it was kind of weird. I was like, oh, why am I excited to play Madden this year? But maybe just because I haven't been able to watch very much sports. Like, you got golf on TV? Let's watch it.
It's like, whoa, you're getting real desperate, Devin.
I told you guys that I watched a soccer match from Italy, and they had virtual fans in the stands, and that was an interesting experience.
I think that's pretty cool. Could you notice a big difference in the intensity of the players not playing in front of fans?
The funny thing is that you get used to fan noise, and although they put in digital fans, I don't think they put in artificial sound. So you could hear the sounds from the field. You could hear the players yelling at each other. And it was a match from Italy, so it was in Italian, and the other team I think was speaking, I think they might have been speaking Portuguese or something, but anyway, but you could hear them very distinctly, and it was very off-putting because you would look at the stands and go, well, no, I should be hearing them, but I'm really hearing, what I'm hearing this from the field. So it was interesting. So the fans were all digitized to be holding like a sign in front of them. And
I mean, I don't think you need that, but like you could do digital crowd noise, like the NBA is talking about bringing in crowd noise from like NBA 2K and stuff into the broadcasts. I mean, because they're all, I mean, the way they're finishing off the NBA season is pretty interesting, where everybody's going to Disney World in Florida, and they're playing basketball there with 22 teams. And they're going to be in a small little place to play basketball. And I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely a different problem for them to figure out. Because, I mean, that's what we're used to, and that noise from people. See how it all works out.
So it's interesting. It was off-putting, but it was kind of nice to see sports back. But then it also made me realize that I can survive without sports. So,
yeah. Well, cool. But you cannot survive without the Freelancer Codex podcast. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. Remember, if you want to support us, you can do that over at Patreon. Don't support us if it puts you in any hardship. But if you can, and if you want to, go ahead and consider it. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Steven Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.